On February 20th, the college football world finally had one of the final puzzle pieces of the 2024 season fall into place. After months of speculation, the College Football Playoff Board of Managers unanimously approved of the 5+7 model for the revamped 12-team playoff. However, while all of this sounds like a satisfying conclusion to a long-awaited improvement to the playoff system, rumblings from those meetings where the vote took place revealed that this might not be the last change made to the college football playoff. Hello everyone, my name is Austin Bruce, and welcome back to Outside the Hash Marks. Today I'll be delving into what led up to the CFP field expanding to 12 teams, discuss the 12-team playoff format, and share my thoughts on the proposal that came out of those meetings. Since its inception in 2014, the College Football Playoff has always been under fire for its exclusivity. While it was a stark improvement from its predecessor, the Bowl Championship Series, some of the same problems from the BCS era persisted into the CFP era. For starters, the CFP barely lived up to its name, and let me explain. When we think of the playoffs in sports, we often think of the 14-team NFL playoffs or the 16-team NBA playoffs. By contrast, the CFP featured a field of just 4 teams. Even before the recent rounds of sweeping conference realignment, this meant that one of the Power 5 conference champions were guaranteed to be left out every year. This only compounded further thanks to the CFP selection criteria stating that if a non-champion or independent were unequivocally one of the 4 best teams in the country, they'd be selected for the 4-team playoff. This exact scenario has occurred in 6 of the 10 years of the CFP's existence and has been a great source of debate nearly every time it's happened. Whether it was Alabama's inclusion in 2017 or Ohio State's and TCU's inclusions in 2022, the CFP was met with public outcry. This also led to something that people were hoping to avoid, an all-conference national championship. In 2011, SEC champion LSU and SEC at large Alabama met in a rematch of a 9-6 LSU win in the BCS National Championship. The Crimson Tide was selected over Big 12 champion Oklahoma State, and though the Tide would ultimately win that rematch, this marked the effective end of the BCS era. Unfortunately, the CFP did not stop this from happening, as Alabama and Georgia met in the national championship not once, but twice. Of course, the inclusion of non-champions was a double-edged sword. Just as people would get upset one was included, people would get upset when one was left out in favor of a conference champion they thought didn't deserve to be there. This was most prevalent in the 2018 and 2019 editions of the CFP, when Big 12 champion Oklahoma backdoored their way into the playoff following Georgia losses in the SEC championship. These arguments were validated when Oklahoma was boat raced out of the playoff in both years. Lastly, a 4-team playoff made it next to impossible for a group of 5 champion to make the field. Fortunately, one was able to make the playoffs when then American member Cincinnati made the field in 2021, thanks in large part to being undefeated and having handed Notre Dame their only loss of the regular season. Apart from that, the group of 5 was largely an afterthought when it came to the CFP race. Even when UCF went undefeated in 2017 and 2018, they couldn't even be ranked higher than 8th due to playing a weaker schedule. Conversely, whenever a promising group of 5 team played a more rigorous schedule, they'd eventually find themselves on the losing end of a game. And Houston's 2016 squad was a prime example of that. The Cougars beat nationally ranked foes Oklahoma and Louisville during the season, but were unable to run through their conference slate, finishing 9-3. The goal of both going undefeated and playing a tough schedule in the process made advancing to the CFP as a group of 5 team next to impossible. To sum all of this up, the lack of inclusion proved to be a fatal flaw for the 4-team playoff model. But what exactly does the 12-team playoff model entail? With the 12-team playoff model now set in stone, it's time to break down what exactly it will look like. In short, the 12-team playoff model is set to include the 5 highest-ranked conference champions and the 7 highest-ranked at-large teams. Contrary to popular belief, this doesn't guarantee that every power conference champion will be included. In fact, there is no mention of the group of 5 conferences being ensured just one spot in the CFP. While in most normal seasons, all 4 power conferences would likely have at least one team ranked within the top 10, there is the off chance that the group of 5 has multiple conference champions ranked ahead of a power conference champion. The 2020 COVID season is an ideal example of this. Under the previously suggested 6+6 model, which followed the same format as the 5+7 model, apart from how many conference champions were allotted a spot, both the American and Sun Belt would have made a hypothetical 12-team playoff over the Pac-12. To help prevent such an occurrence from happening, every power conferences has ditched divisions to guarantee that their two best teams will face off in the conference championship. That's not where conference championship privileges end, though. The 4 highest ranked conference champions will each receive a first round bye, regardless of where they are ranked. This means that if you are in the top 4 come Selection Sunday, but you don't carry the moniker of being a conference champion, you will not receive a bye. This will undoubtedly lead to more backlash. As sports business personnel Joe Pompliano said, independents, namely Notre Dame, would not be able to receive a first round bye even if they ran the table due to not being in a conference. The 7 at-large bids are more straightforward. The 7 highest ranked teams who are not conference champions will each earn a bid. Though the model has its noticeable fallacies, it does address issues shown in the 4-team playoff model. However, the vote was not the only thing to come out of those meetings. In the days following the approval of the 5+7 model, reports came out that the CFP's management committee was discussing a potential 14-team playoff model beginning in 2026 when the CFP's next television contract would start, giving the Big Ten and SEC 3 spots apiece, the ACC and Big 12 2, and allowing for 1 Group of 5 representative. This leaves just 3 at-large spots up for grabs. There are so many hurdles to be jumped over before anything is official, including approving a new media contract and agreeing on a new revenue distribution model. Still, it's been reported that there has been optimism towards approving the model. Unlike the 12-team playoff model, only a majority vote would be required to expand the CFP further. While Big Ten and SEC officials have largely been supportive of the model, the ACC and Big 12 officials have not, and for good reason. I, for one, believe a model such as this would water down college football as a whole. There's no denying that the Big Ten and SEC's power only grew following realignment, and it's widely expected that the 2024 CFP field will reflect that. That being said, approving of a model that would increase the already massive revenue gap between the SEC and Big Ten and ACC and Big 12 will have dire consequences. That doesn't even include the possibility that the Big Ten and SEC holding that many title contending teams could result in fewer playoff-worthy teams, or that the ACC and Big 12 could have a really strong or really weak season. The CFP committee would be forced to give the bids as assigned rather than filling out the field using their own selection criteria. Of course, this is all without mentioning that we haven't even seen the 12-team playoff in action yet. We don't even know whether it will work out or not. Despite the outrage surrounding the news, I do believe that the commissioners and board are on the right track. I know I said earlier in the video that a 14-team playoff would water down college football as a whole, but it would not be because of its size. A 12-team playoff at the continuously expanding FBS level is not something that will work in the long run. In a future video, I'll be sharing my own model that I've curated and discuss the pros and cons that it could have. For now, though, that wraps up today's episode. What are your thoughts on the 12-team playoff model? Do you think the 14-team playoff model will improve or be worse for college football? Let me know in the comments below, and subscribe if you would like to see more videos like this. And as always, don't forget to keep the college football flame burning.